Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Morning Coffee Review. Today is January 9th, and
Oh,
we're back. We're
but
here
it's
doing
auto
some fun
recording.
things on Teams. So it's going to be a little different still. We're still having some growing pains and readjustments getting used to Teams, but Michael and I are here to get you started. Starting out 2024 with a whole bunch of new stuff. We've got some fun things coming up, but today we're just going to sort of relax. We got some pretty technical stuff that we're going to get into the weeds with today. But as always, if you haven't been to Morning Coffee Review before, we're here for you. We are part of the Bluebeam community. We work at ATG. We're just here to share some of our stuff and build a community and learn from you guys. What are you working on? What kind of cool workflows do you have that you would like to show or share with us? And we're here to learn from one another and just have a good time. So, without further ado, let me say good morning to my friend Michael. There, how you doing today, bud?
Good. Excited for today's topic and reinvigorating back into this new platform of Teams. We use it internally, but we've migrated over. So excited to start off the new year with this launch of the new platform. Kind of did a beta test last week or 2 weeks ago. So excited. I'm excited to have you all back. If you're new, again, this is all about you, the community. So feel free at any point to jump in around any specific item that you have questions around within review. So don't just wait for us to start with the topic. If you do have any questions, use that chat feature. Feel free to ask us anything that you've been working on or something that's not working for you. We can go through and show you some of the processes as we run through this. But typical fashion, we have a topic. That topic is what we'll stay true to until someone asks a question. So further ado, today we're going to be talking about creating custom tool sets and some of the workflows around that and what you may or may not use within those. And feel free to use the chat feature at any point to jump into there. I don't think we have any announcements for Bluebeam. Is there any announcements, Jason?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Normally, we do a little bit of housekeeping if there is a deadline or a price increase or update or something that you need to know about. But I think all that has taken place already. There were some price. There is a new price list for anybody who is renewing it in 2024. So that 10% increase that we talked about over the past year and a half is kind of what happened. I know there's some Autodesk price changes coming up February 7th. So if you do have a
Ooh.
renewal, jump on that because they actually went up quite a bit. So get on that. You have less than a month if you want to save your company some serious money. But today is not Autodesk focused, or we're not going to talk about them too much today. We're here to talk about Bluebeam and custom tool sets. So hopefully you guys are using these out there. I know a lot of folks. I think I wouldn't say a lot of folks. I would say it might be a little less than 50-50. What do you guys think in the chat? How much, what do you think the percentage is of people using custom tool sets versus out of the box? What do you think it is, Michael?
Well, so it's kind of hard because a lot of the community that there's regulars here, I would say most regulars are using those that are not just avid listeners to us in the banter, because we do have some of those, and we love that you love to join us in the conversation. But most of the avid users in here that listen it's about 100%, I would say. But for most folks that we talk to on a daily basis, that I at least talk to on a daily basis, I would say probably 45 to 40% use custom tool sets because they still don't know the full power of what review can do for them. So I would say it's around 40 to 45% use those when I have conversations with folks.
Yeah, it's definitely underutilized no matter what. And even if you're just dragging stuff from the recent tools, there's a whole bunch of power that can be unlocked. And we're going to show you some of those tricks today. So even if you're not using them now, open your mind a little bit. Let's get the wheels turning and we'll dive in and start talking about what we're talking about, right? So
And I probably should have updated before this because one of those tools would probably be a great added benefit from the updates. But there was an update a while back that I decided just haven't done yet. But would be the custom captions, I guess would be that additional
mhm.
one that you could add into it, which users like me who don't update, and you'll always see this if you're a long time listener, I always take forever to update, but I can still see that caption. Even though I don't have the update, I just can't create the caption.
Right. And we did a test. There was some, I know I've showed it here on MCR before. There's a couple bugs in my install that I had to redo to get it to work right. So when we tried showing custom captions, it didn't work as intended. But I created them. I can still do it. And I sent it to Michael to test, and he can still see all of them. So he can still make custom tools from the comments that I sent him. And we might show you that trick, how to borrow a custom tool from a PDF that you didn't create if it was done in Bluebeam Review and it wasn't flattened. There are some tricks there as well.
You could still go through and capture an image, but it's a little bit different. There's some stop gaps of like what you can and cannot do with those in terms of what you're able to do with an image. So just being aware as you're going through and grabbing content. Like if I wanted this elevation target, you can create a custom markup that is this. You would probably set it to whatever scale this was created at. But I guess we can start there. Let's just start a quick high level overview of what custom tool sets are. So when you're opening Review, I am in the Review Advanced. Anyone that's typically watching my or Jason's videos, I think Jason uses Advanced too. This is the out of the box Review Advanced profile. I haven't done much modification. This is very clean in comparison just because when I got a new laptop, you don't see all my junk that's in here from doing a bunch of demos. So Review Advanced is the profile I'm typically in, and that's changing the user interface, which also ties into a couple of other things. There's a bunch of videos you can go back and watch, but my panel is on the left-hand side here. Panel has icons within them, and the specific one we're going to be talking about today is the tool chest. I like to remember the old days of watching, old mining movies, and they carry that like steel lunchbox. That's kind of what it reminds me of. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nope, nothing wrong with that. So when I click on this, you can equate it to, I use the analogy of a tool box and Allen wrenches, which I used to call Allen key sets. But I think most folks are formally familiar with Allen wrench sets. Would you agree?
Yes. However, as a person who uses a lot of Allen wrenches, you don't need that many drawers for Allen keys or Allen wrenches because you've got metric and SAE, and then you've got standard and ball end. So maybe 4, but we're going to go way bigger than that today.
Yeah.
I've already gone down the rabbit hole of being silly about things, but let's keep going.
Yeah, so I just use that analogy because you're going to pull out. I guess you could even use the analogy of a ratchet set, right? Because you're going to pick the specific size using one tool, which would be that specific item of the name of what it is. I just use Allen wrenches. So anyways, we'll use that in that vein. So you have your toolbox. You don't have to worry about misplacing it because it will always, well, I guess you'd have to worry about where you set the tool set. So that kind of would be that mentality of misplacing your tools for those folks that don't put their tools back, or have kids that don't put the tools back for them. So in that same vein, you have your toolbox. So this is where everything's going to live. In here, you have your tool sets. So I guess you could equate tool sets to different types of tools, like an Allen wrench set would be my Architect Review with my Allen keys in there. And then you have maybe your ratchet set for Contractor Review and the different sizes for that ratchet set in there. And continue onward in that same vein of thought process of what this availability is to you, right? And then within there, you have your tools that you're going to use. So Allen wrench set stays in your toolbox, and then in your toolbox, the Allen wrench set lives, and then your Allen keys are respective to your job, which are your custom markups. So some folks are not using these. Most folks, I would say, that are avid listeners here do and have gotten pretty extreme with what capabilities and things they've went into. And so how do we go through and create them? Before we do that, let's talk about these two main ones. So out of the box, you'll always have the recent tools and my tools, and then these other ones that I just downloaded from their website. So my tools are things that you've saved specifically for you. The great thing about this is that there's numbers with them, and their numbers are associated to hotkeys. We'll talk about that in a second when I bring things up. And then there's recent tools. So as you're going through and making any revisions that you have, so as you're going through and making any markups, you'll start seeing these markups placed in your recent tools. There's two different ways to access these recent tool markups. There is the properties mode. So I'm going to go through and add a hatch for this one. And then we're going to change, some colorization for this. So we see that this color of this icon here has changed. So there is a properties mode for these saved recent markups. That means that when I remake this markup, it will copy the same markup, but allowing you to use the command over again. So different size. The next one is if I double click on it or right click on it, you have the ability to change it to drawing mode, which is an exact copy of the original one made. Ease of use. This would be great for text or something that's repeated of an area, or a specific size of markup that needs to be repeated. So drawing mode versus properties mode of the two different markups. And you can easily switch between both of them as you're over here by double clicking. Now, recent tools does go away. So not if I close out of the PDF, these will still be here. But if I close the instance of review, recent tools goes away, which doesn't help us because what if I want to reuse this, remembering of Christmas era markup. So we'll get into more detailed markups here in a bit, but going back forward, if I want to save this, typically you would save it in a custom tool set or maybe My Tools, right? Something you're going to use frequently as you're reviewing some documents or, cost estimating or something like that, which you probably put in tool set because you want to share it with everybody. But if not, again, you can left click hold and drag this up into My Tools. That is one way. There are multiple ways to add a markup into a custom tool set. I'm not going to just say a specific number because there's multiple ways. So now that this is here, there's a number associated to this so I can use it. So I'm going to hit escape. I'm not in a command. I can now press 9 on my keyboard and I'm selecting this one to place it. Again, or you can change this back into properties mode. So if I go over here and press 9 on my hotkey, now I can place that same exact one. So again, My Tools, recent tools. My Tools does not go away if I were to close review here. However, we have entered in an SSO environment. My Tools.
Sorry, there's a question before we jump to the My Tools. That was just a left click. So click and drag. You don't have to right click and drag.
Correct. Yeah. Left click, hold, drag.
Right. So you're saying My Tools. So again, recent tools is going to clear out when you restart review. You can change PDFs, but you have to stay in review. My Tools is going to stay there, and that's going to save for you automatically.
Yep. And then also the other way is, like Arlie was alluding to earlier, if someone sent you a PDF and the markups weren't flattened, you can always select the markup, right click, and then add to a tool chest here. I did that quick. So selecting, then just right clicking, and then you have your options here, add to tool chest.
That's definitely one of the faster ways to do it. But I'm kind of old school and I like the whole dragging, the action of putting it in the right spot and seeing it will allow you to choose its location in that particular tool chest too. So if you're more particular, and you can always do it after the fact as well, but it just depends.
And you can also do it from the properties area. So the gear symbol's another panel icon, and then you can add it to your tool chest. Yes, if you move one of the markups too, right? But I would have to create a different one that was new. It would show up in recent tools because it's like you're placing the markup. So if you move someone else's markup that they sent to you, yeah, perfect. Thanks, David.
Yep, and that's the trick that we're alluding to when it comes to borrowing or stealing or recreating a custom markup from a different PDF that maybe you created before and maybe you got a fresh install of Revu, or someone else created it and you want to take it. Click on it, make one small move to it, and it will automatically show in your recent tools. From there, you can just drag it to the proper tool chest. And then you don't have to spend the time reconfiguring all those properties.
Yep. All righty. So again, always ask questions if you have any. So moving forward, talked about recent tools, my tools. Now we can go through and start talking about specific custom tool sets that we want to go through and create. So if we wanted to go through and create some, we do have some options here. Let's talk about some of the markups that we have available to us. So out of the box, our typical markups under tools menu, you have markups, you have a text box, typewriter, a note, a call out, pen, highlighter. You have a ton to go through as well to start your markups. Now, these don't maybe make up the full capacity of what we'd want for some type of markup. And you can always go through and create your own by grouping things together. So for instance, down here, we have some punch key or an electrical and telecom here. Some of these are actually snapshots versus actually create and drawn out. There are some pluses and bonuses with snapshots versus actually having the full markup capability with grouped ones together. I'm not going to go too deep into that, but we'll go through and let's just say, hey, I just need to get these over quick as examples, Michael. I don't want to have to go through and redraw everything. Okay, so what can we do? You can easily use G as the hotkey, or you can go to edit and you have snapshot. So if you don't, you can just take a snapshot of one, right? Control V just to paste it, because now it becomes a markup. Oops. I scroll up, now I have my control joint here to place wherever I need to in the future, right? So if I drag this up, again, 10 on my hotkey, now I can place it. So that's just using a quick tool versus redrawing some of these as well. So if I wanted to go through and change this to maybe a count, or maybe go through and change the colors, I can go through and change the colors. Everything from black in here needs to go to I don't know, magenta. So now it looks like a markup, not like I'm trying to place something on the PDF. So that's one quick, easy way to do that. The downside to these is that they're not scalable. So that would be an issue, right? If I go through and look at my design symbols, no, what are they? I don't think I have any of the doors. This is what happens when you. So there is an ability to make your markups scalable, which these are. So as I go into here, I'll set this scale to page and 330 seconds. I think this is correct. Yep, cool. Memory serves me right. So if I were to place this markup, you can actually make them scalable as you're going down, as you're placing them. So this is the original one and what it was actually created at. It's now set as scale, and as I place them, they are scaled. So plus and minuses, quick and easy to make. However, I didn't have the ability to go through and make them scalable if I were to use something like this, which is a snapshot, which is an image, not actual content. I guess you would say metadata of markups. I don't know.
Correct.
Can't figure out the words. Alrighty, let's see. You're monitoring the chat.
Yeah, we're sort of going down a little bit of a rabbit hole here just to see where things are going. And David had mentioned if we know if the files used in Bluebeam Cloud can be used as a data set for AI learning app, he can see, so David is saying that he can see AI trying to predict what type of markup you want or should be able to use. And that's pretty cool to think about, right? If you use a cloud, for example, and then you select a cloud and put it around a typical a certain type of object, He's saying that like AI would read that object and say, oh, you must be meaning this type of markup tool because it relates to this object that you're circling or interacting with.
So I was talking to two gentlemen when I was at AU. They were very young. I think like 22 and 21 and 23 out of England. And they created a software for teachers to start first. And they partnered with Autodesk. And they have an AI tool that redlines to a set standard for them. So the teachers don't have to redline and mark up, and then submits it back to the student of what was incorrect. So just think of that in terms of AI and where we'll be. It won't be replacing, but it will be an assistant. And that's already out and being used at universities for marking up. So no need to like maybe code compliance checks, thinking in the future, right? For revision, right? You don't have to have somebody go through and check for code. Maybe from a municipality standpoint, right? You're always going to check and verify, even if you're using AI. But how much time does that save you, right? Because I would say the biggest thing that we all need to think about in terms of what we have available to all of us is time. That will save us a ton of time. So anyways, tangent.
No, I was just, you mentioned these people are 21, 22, and I was thinking about what I was doing at 21, 22, and it surely wasn't wasn't programming things that are going to change the university level of markup. So I'm feeling a little like I wasted some years, but I also had so.
I think it's one of those things. Well, because I watched Oppenheimer the other day. It's the next generation, right? It was on the flight. So when we were going to Florida, but it's the next generation, right? Like Eisenhower, and then you have Oppenheimer, right? Like that generational shift is preparing the next generation to hopefully move things forward. Okay. As we go forward, any comments on the cool stuff?
Well, we're just talking about, when we used to make markups on paper, we would have a different color pencil, colored pen or pencil, depending on what you wanted them to do. There was a whole, it almost made it to a standard. I mean, know what you guys think in the chat. For a while there, like green, blue, and red all meant different things, but they all kind of meant the same thing at different firms for a little bit. And then everybody's like, no, we're just going to stick with red.
Yep.
Just kind of a bummer. But for a minute there was a glimpse of an actual, it was almost like a CAD standard, but it was pencil.
And you can make and change colors as much as you want here. But going back forward, we talked about the snapshot tool, quickly creating things. If you want to go through and create your own markups, you have that ability as well. Maybe let's say there's not base plates here and we want to show base plates in a detail orientation from here as well. You can easily go through and either sketch to scale so you have them at a scale, or you can just go through and create some type of specific markup that's going to show that, right? So as I go through and make a rectangle here, and maybe I do want to have, I don't want to get that detailed, but I guess.
I mean, we got the time.
Yeah, I guess I'll just do, what is it? Shift center and fill this. I guess it doesn't do a full fill. Maybe if I just make my point density. Okay. Let's leave it at that. So as you go through to here, there's also the ability to, let's grab both these out. And it's different for those of you that use Revit. It's not control, it's shift to multi-select. But I'm going to go through and copy this over and over. Okay. So there is the ability to go through, and I have to remember this. I think it's the last one selected. Alignment. top. Perfect. So now these are in alignment for those folks. I don't think Matt's listening at the day. So as you go through and make these, and it's the last selected. So I'm going quick because I had to relearn it. I'm going to wide select. So shift, left click, hold, encapsulate this area here. Then hold shift, select my box because I want them to align horizontally. And then I'm going to move them vertically. And I guess you could have probably done one for vertical, but I want them a little bit offset. So I'm going to right click and just say align to now bottom. And I guess it's probably not going to want to move correctly, but that's fine. You can go shift up. And maybe I should have aligned to the left side. Anyways, I'm not going to get too into it. I don't think anyone's going to. The further you zoom in, the more it moves. So but once you do it once, you won't have to ever do it again. Okay. So now into here, I'm just gonna let it go because it's a base plate. So as I go into here, what I can go through and do is right click on this one and group them together. So this is only important of the order if there's text, and we'll talk about text in a minute for like punch key stuff. So I'm going to right click over this and group them together. So now it is a grouped icon here, right? And now I can start making like a custom specific structural tool set so that it scales because I just drew this in how it should look at a specific scale, right? And what is that scale? It's 3/32. So I'm going to go up to here under the drop down of the tool chest, and you'll see all of your available tool sets in your profile. So tool sets are assigned to the profile or all profiles when you create one. So you go to manage tool sets. And if you want to create a custom tool set, you're going to hit add from here. When you add the new tool set, you do need to name this. I don't even need to name it. So when it says new, you're going to display it, meaning it's going to be active right now. Yes. Shown all profiles. So still right now, you can't pick which profiles. There's no select and then drop down. It's either the current active profile, which we all saw was in review advanced. If I do not check this and I switch to a different profile, which is that user interface, it also interacts with your tool sets. So do I want this to not show in all profiles? So if I change my profile, am I still gonna have access to the structural tools? Yes or no? No, I'm not. Relative path. So this is the file saving method, right? So if the tool set gets moved, will it update that location if I hit save? Yes or no? Yes. If I decheck it, no, it won't. Are you thinking of that in your head?
No.
Okay. Same thing is the way you've used XREFs, same thing in the way you've used XREFs and links too within Revit. So hit OK. I'm just going to save this to, this is where your typical saved location is from good old review. You can pick a different location up to you. I'm going to hit OK. So now that this has been created, you can right click. I'm going to add it to my custom tool set. Boom, there. And now I am done. I can go back and select it and place it wherever. And you can say whatever type of base plate you want this to be, because there's more embedded metadata to your markups. So if I switch this on the gear symbol here on the right side of your tool sets, you have this thing called detail. The subject is important because when you start making markups, you may or may not know, and we're not covering the markups list today, but there is this thing called the markups list, which is embedded information to all of your markups made in infinity. So every time your markup is placed, there is metadata associated to it, and that is logged down here in the markups list, which is important if you're trying to use this for estimating. all the way down to just making markups for revision purposes, because you can use things called statuses to mark a status, which would be the same mentality of redlining and then highlighting, right? Okay. And in here, how can I change that? You could have changed it at the beginning when you made it, but I decided this time I'm just going to change it after I've made it, right? And instead of grouping them, then changing it, I can come into here and just say subject, faceplate, and you can get it in the weeds of this if you want to, of like what type of size, any comments pre-associated to it. Label is only used for when you have things that are a measurement, which isn't a measurement. So think of things like a count. A sequence is not a measurement. Okay. Questions?
So there's a couple different things, and they're sort of unrelated. When you created that custom tool set, you named it that structural tools. There was that option for that relative. We're talking about XReps and Revit links and stuff, but Isaac wants to know if you set it to non-relative, so unselecting the relative checkbox, does it give you trouble when you try to export the dependencies? So what Isaac is talking about is when you export a profile. So let's say I want to make a whole custom profile for my company and I want to share that with people. There's an option there to include dependencies. And those dependencies are things like your line types, your custom tools, your, all these little custom little settings and preferences that live inside of Revu are dependencies to the actual profile. So if you export them and that tool is not relative, does it come with it? And I'm honestly not sure. I've never tried that. So that might be something for us to test to see what the ramifications are of not having it be relative, because I'm guessing that button exists for a reason and it does more than we're probably giving it credit for.
Yeah, we don't know yet to test it. I haven't tried it yet.
And then secondly, there was a question from David. So you created that base plate in there. Do you need to set it to scale, or is it not drawn to scale?
So it's drawn at a scale, right? It's drawn at this 330 seconds. In terms of that's visually, that is the size that I wanted it to be at 330 seconds, right? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So now anything that I put into this tool set needs to be drawn at that 330 seconds scale, because I will set this to a 330 seconds scale. Does that make sense? So if I open up a different set, I don't know if these scales change. They do. So this is 1/8 of an inch. Is my base plate going to work here? I'll set this scale to 330 seconds. Not of the PDF yet. This is me setting the scale. I always do that. I did it quick. Structural tools, gear symbol, set scale. That's setting the scale of this tool set. Anything in here is now set to a scale of 330 seconds. Okay. That does not mean it's active yet, because it needs to be blue. So now when I click this, which is a little bit bigger, it'll be 330 seconds. Oh, it's because I don't have the set scale of the page. I'm like, that's not working. It's 1/8 of an inch. Thank you. Which I need a different base plate for this, but original. Yeah.
So as long as it was drawn to scale in the first place, it can be recreated at a different scale. You can't just draw it and then tell it to scale itself, because it doesn't know what it was intended to be.
Okay. Yeah, so you can place it whatever. Hey, I'm just placing it for an example. I don't care at what scale it was drawn at, right? There's. And then, oh, I do want it to scale, right? And then you click this on. So it's just an option.
It works really well, especially when you build custom tool sets that are based upon the sketch to scale functionality too,
Yep.
right? So instead of it having being a pre-made base plate, you're going to sketch to scale and then tell it I want it to be 8 by 12 or whatever.
It's totally not the right size or angle, but anyways, we'll go forward. So as we go onward, that is some type of symbol you wanted to create. The next one may be for those folks that are trying to do punch lists, right? There are some great ones from out of the box, and I'll Google it here before we take off and give you all access to it. It's from Bluebeam. Troy DeGroot also has some from U Chapter 2, so feel free to Google his website. It's U Chapter 2, and there's a bunch on there for free as well. He's done a great job of creating or recreating and editing existing ones and also making his own.
Put that in the chat. There's Troy's, and then I'll put the Bluebeam ones in here too, because I actually have that link somewhere. There it is. So I just put in the chat 2 links. Go nuts and download some free custom tool sets from U Chapter 2 and some from Bluebeam. Give you a good start, or at least give you an idea of what's possible out there.
Yeah. And there's some other things that you can do, like creating design symbols. I know, is Liz still here? She showed us that drags. No, oh, maybe. And scroll down far down. No. There's like the ability to like shift in and grab lines and drag them for like a section cut, things of that nature. So there's a lot of embedded and highly customized things that you can do when you're being methodic about creating these. But going into here, so if we wanted to go through and create something like a punch key, unless someone has a specific tool, I'm going to create a punch key, unless someone has a specific tool that they'd like to see me quickly create. This one's great with grouping in letters to show you that feature.
Question here. Does Bluebeam have any intentions to create more structural shapes? The list is very limited for sizes and only available from U Chapter 2. I don't know. Honestly, those tools that I linked in the chat have been there for years, and they really haven't changed a whole lot. So that could be one of those things where we might want to make a recommendation. We haven't shown that tip in a while. Maybe we'll do that soon.
Yeah, there's this profile that you download, and this profile lives with them. So if I click this, this has them, and these are probably some of the ones that Troy has. Maybe not, I don't know. But from here, like this is what you get from their example. I haven't created a structural steel tool set. Maybe that's something we can think about internally here as some options. Because we have like custom detail components that you can buy off the shelf from us for Revit based content. I haven't done anything for structural review based content yet. Okay, full circle going back. Sequence. So someone said a sequence. So Isaac asked a sequence. So a sequence value is a little bit different than a count. I'm going to tell you, since someone said sequence, what the difference is, because I think there's 2 different values for both of them. For those folks that want a visual count, you're going to go through and you're going to create a lettering or a numerical number, because you can change it, doesn't matter. Alt-Z is the auto-size text box feature for those folks that always ask me what that was when I resized your text box. You can also have it happen automatically by going to Review, Preferences, or Control-K for the hotkey for that. This is recorded, so if I'm going too quick, I'm just looking at the time and I want to make sure we get everything in. You can pause play there. You can go to your tools, and then you can go to your markup, and you can go to auto size text box and callouts. That automatically happens once you're done placing your text. What does that mean? So if I go to here and I make too big of a text box and I go here and I finish it, I don't have this big box. It will automatically do this. Okay, perfect. So now that I have this, and you're probably going to say, hey, Mike, there's a bunch of shapes that you could have used for this. I know, but I'm just going to go through and make my own. That is something similar to a triangle. So we'll go here, shift for this. I forgot you got 45 now, but it's not going to be 45. Every time I make this, I'm like, man, they make.
If only there was an easier way.
Yeah. So now that we're here, you can grab and select, and I know it's off-centered. You can just do alignments. So let's see, it's still not.
Align center.
That's what I wanted earlier. Control Z. So select and then shift to your main one that you want it to align to. Enter. Thank you. Okay. That's good enough. It's not good, but it's fine. So I'm going to select all. Now, this order does not matter when you're doing a count. And we'll talk about that quickly as well. But this first one is the sequence because I wanted to show you the sequence because there's a requested. So right click, I just selected all, and now I'm going to group them. And then once this has been grouped, you cannot make it into a sequence until you put it into a tool set. So I'm going to bring it up into my tools. And then from here, you can right click and you can change this into a sequence that you define. And it is a style of alphabetical, numerical, Roman. I don't know what the other, this line one is, barcode, I don't know. And then you have a prefix and then a suffix, and then you have start increment. You all know the sequence values. You can have it change per document or per page. Renumber markups when deleted, auto, yes or no. Great, I'm just gonna do all typical out of the box stuff. Oh, capital Roman, okay. Now, when I've created it, you see a play button. This is great if you are a visual counter. And I did this poorly because I should have, I'll show you just really quick. Oh, it's because it's already a sequence. I did this poorly because what you should have done was made sure that this was long enough, not auto size, so that it's formatted to the left probably, and it builds out as the number gets larger and it doesn't mess up everything. But anyways, this is great if you're a visual counter. The reason why it's only great if you're a visual counter is because it messes up your markups list. When you're really starting to utilize the information for counting like this, you don't want to itemize every single instance of that one place. You want it to group together what you're trying to count, right? So for instance, if I was using this specific icon to count the number of base plates as my base plate symbol, right, I would have ungrouped this first, because what I want to do is select the numerical value first, because I'm going to assign this a comment. And the value here of this markup is the comment of what is showing visually, right? Does that make sense? So I'm going to make this a B because I'm commenting and it's actually B in the comments. So if I go and look at this, comment here box is B. And if I assign a value to that, it will change this. I don't want that to happen. So I'm selecting this first. Then I'm selecting the shape. And you can tell which one was selected most recently because it's green. So you could have just round robin here and said, look, it did work. So I did that time. And then right clicking over the shape and grouping together. The reason why you do this is now when I click on this, I can go through and change, we'll drag it up into my tools, some information, right? I don't want to ruin my structural tool set because I'm actually going to probably start building one out. But if I click on this one in here, before you place it, you can change the properties of it, or again, gear symbol detail. So this is a base plate. And now you have the ability to go through, well, sorry, we're going to create account. I'm showing you account. So it doesn't matter that I change this to base plate because what I want this to be is account. And you'll see it a numerical value here, or the count symbol. The reason why when you change it to account, it changes it to a measurement, which then changes the subject. So it doesn't matter that I did this before, but let's just show you quick copy paste. Perfect. Now what you can go through and do is you can go through and change it and add a label. But let's go back into here and just show you if I change the comments on this one to have something like whatever size, you know. And maybe do your dowels or something, I don't know. Now, as I go through and place this, it did not change that text value, but that is now logged down here of what that is, right? Great. So with that, and you can sort by your subject that's been placed, it has that data, but if I went the other way and commented, this would have changed to that 5 by 11, right? Which not what you want. So if I would have selected the shape, then the text would have updated when I commented of what more metadata I wanted to print out a report. Going back full circle to count. Why do I like count over my sequence? I know. I was thinking as I was trying to type here. Because as I place this, it's a single markup. But as I go down into here, I'll go and look at that base plate, and I have a specific count. And we're not covering this in depth. But as I show my count column here, place it. I have my base plate, count 25. Versus 19 groups of my sequence, which looks great in my PDF summary report. So here's this, the one of the base plates, 25 of them, 5 by 11, that's my count markup that I made. Versus now I'm going to have one for every single instance, not grouped in count. So it just comes down to what are you using it for visually, not printing my report. But if you're doing the other way, you're going to count and have a report that's generated. You're probably going to use that.
David asked, can you rename the group or name the group? So when you're in the markups list and you see group, what can you do with it? So in the tool chest, what Michael did, he clicked on group and it will turn into a text box.
Yeah, so next time I use that base plate, it has, you know, that sequence has base plate there. Existing stuff, yes, if you want to come in here and change this to base plate. Baseboard's already in there. Cool. You change it to baseboard, but you have to go to every single one and change it. I guess you could like select all, but I don't think that works. I think you'd have to do it from here.
And you can't change the top header of that group. I'm forgetting the term. In the markups list, you had the bold letter for group, and then all the groups beneath it. You can't just click on where it says group 18.
No,
that'd be too easy.
Like,
yeah,
that'd
okay.
be too easy. Yeah.
Make a suggestion. Love that button. So what I was mentioning, and I think we talked about it a little bit when we started this morning, there's been a couple things in the chat about like, hey, I really wish Bluebeam could do this. I really wish Revu could do that for either Bluebeam Cloud or for the iPad. Under the help menu, there is an option for make a suggestion. And we like to show off that button here at MCR because we want you to be letting Bluebeam know what they could be working on. I'm sure they've got a whole list of things. They've been pretty quiet lately, so that something tells me that something big must be coming soon, hopefully. And maybe they've heard all of our suggestions. Yeah.
Yeah. been pretty quiet on the band line of what they're going to be releasing or doing. So hopefully in the future we see some great advancements or something in that vein be released. So we can only hope for the best.
Absolutely.
All righty. Any other comments here?
Not that I'm seeing. We got about 8 minutes left of today's episode on custom tool sets. As always, if you've got any other questions when it comes to any review workflows, just fire them away, put them in the chat. We're happy to pivot from what we're doing. And certainly if it's something that's going to take a little bit more time, we'll cover it next week, because that's what we do every Tuesday morning at 8:30 Central. We're here to help you get more out of review every day. So,
Yep.
yes, David, I appreciate the Super Mega Ultra expansion pack idea. There's almost something that we can do with that. That'd be fun to do someday. Just make this an MCR inside joke tool set.
And then just see them placed everywhere on other people's stuff. That'd be hilarious. So what I'll do is you're back. You have the settings. You stalled out for a second, but you have the settings, and you can export these. So if you ever wanted to share your bright ideas, you have the option to go through and export that as well. So if you wanted to export it out and share it, or you can do it as an entire profile. If you like the user interface, you customize the way it should look and how people should function in it. You have the option to go through and also do the review, profile, manage profiles, and export with dependencies. And Isaac's going to get back to us with testing that other flow and seeing maybe it may or may not work. And exporting that out as well. I think we've had I wish it was when Peter Noyes came on, because we asked him of all the things we wish there could be. I wish you could export out your statuses.
Ooh, there you go.
Just the statuses.
Maybe we'll text Peter and see if he wants to come back on and maybe get a panel with some friends, some cohorts of his over at Bluebeam, and see if they can like nod or wink or something to allude to things that are coming down the pipe. That would be fun.
Yeah, because this would just solve all the issues with sessions and statuses and having to have like a drop page and things like that.
Okay.
I know, we just need an up. They said they were going to change the way you do this when we talked to him. There's going to be like an upvote.
Yeah, just kind of like the Autodesk forums. There's an idea forum on the Autodesk forums where you can upvote or downvote, and then they actually, if it crosses a certain threshold, they're like, all right, cool, then it moves to in development.
Yeah, but there isn't one.
We got to create some MCR forums, or does chapter 2 got something over at the Brainery for that? I don't know.
Like most requested fixes. Here's your list of fixes or updates. I mean, there's just, once you get advanced, if you're new or listening in, there's some things that you are just wishful thinking, not wishful thinking, or you're just wishing, just like any software, right? I mean, come on. Okay, so with that, if you have any more questions, feel free to use the chat feature. Please, please, please. Jason posted last week suggestions. Otherwise, it's going to be our two brains putting a list together, which may not be bad, be a little modest here, but it's always best if it comes from you. So if you want to listen to something, please email us, or feel free to ping us on LinkedIn or our, I don't know, what would you call it?
Our little morning coffee review group.
on LinkedIn. So that, because we don't have a survey after this anymore, I don't believe, of what you would want us to talk about, right? It's a new year, new time to learn more things. Bluebeam isn't releasing anything that we know of right now. Otherwise, we'd have our tinfoil hats on, which kind of gives you a little nudge that something is happening, but no tinfoil hats. So you can leave it up to us, but we'd prefer you all to ask us, what would you like to learn more about?
Yeah, exactly. I just put the MCR LinkedIn group link into the chat. So if you are a LinkedIn user, feel free to use that during the week. If you've got an idea of like, hey, I wish you guys would cover how to do this. All right, cool.
Yep.
We'll add it to the list. Or if it's something that's a little bit more pressing, or like, hey, I really need to get something out today. We got the whole group there. The whole community is here to help you as well. If there's something that's holding you back, fire away. Certainly, there's also a Bluebeam user group on Facebook. Obviously not as active on Facebook during the workday here, but there is that, which is getting a lot of traction lately. And then, of course, there's the Chapter 2 Brainery over there that has some stuff. So never feel like you're stuck in review unless it's a actual limitation. We, the community here, love to push those boundaries to figure out what the limitations actually are. So give it a whirl. If you've got an idea, let's see what we can come up with.
Yeah, and it looks like Isaac came up with figuring out that it comes with the tool set comes with the profile regardless of relative path or not.
Thanks for testing that, Isaac.
Yeah, thank you, Isaac. I'm assuming that relative path is just for saving.
Right. And Greg put here in the chat an idea that I don't think we've covered that in a while. So add to the list. I appreciate that. Go ahead and
here's my last note. So for those folks that are trying to write a script for mass install of Bluebeam, your review profiles, things like that nature. Here it is. Have a good one, Isaac. Yeah, I'm going to copy paste that here. Unless you're starting a list, either one, better to have both bases covered.
That's right.
All righty. Well, thanks everyone for listening in today on our edition of Custom Tool Sets. We appreciate every single one of you. Yes, I think that's right. For always joining us, listening into the banter. I'll let you finish it off, Mr. Artley. As always, you're the best one.
Yeah, that's just it. Thanks for joining us. Happy New Year, everybody. We're excited to get back in the swing of things, and we're through the holidays, and we're ready to get rocking and rolling with some fresh new content and some revised, enhanced stuff from before. But as always, we'll see you here next Tuesday, 8:30 Central. And in the meantime, take care out there, and we'll see you soon.
See you soon.
All right, bye-bye.